Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me once again on my regular Wednesday night live stream. Yes, I had Serene Tefahab originally planned. Unfortunately, due to the consistency of her busyness, she has had to pull out at this stage, but it's only a postponement. It's not a cancellation. But I have the future Serene Tefaha, essentially, like Septimus. You will be... Hi, our first live together. How are you?
Yeah, I know. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I mean, I'm comparing you to like Australia's Erin Brockovich of class actions.
Oh, so, okay.
Well, anyway, what are you drinking there?
Water?
Oh, just water. Nothing too exciting.
No.
Well, I'm hoping that this will be an interesting discussion. So for those who haven't watched my previous video with Septimus here, tell everyone what you're about, why you're doing it. I mean, I'm sort of on the same level as you in the interests that I have, but you're sort of focusing your education on child sex abuse, among other things. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as you say, I'm focusing on child sexual abuse, but mainly because to me it's logical to go there when you're solving issues. So basically since about 2017, I've been discussing societal problems on my YouTube channel and how to solve those issues, whether that be environmental issues, trafficking and whatnot, getting our society out of a low socioeconomic situation. So I've been inquiring into all of these things and finding the correlations actually between these things. So actually what causes environmental degradation? Well, a low socioeconomic situation tends to do that. What causes those socioeconomic situations? A lot of the time it's because people have had tough childhood. So that's actually impaired their ability to succeed at school and university and stuff like this. And that fosters society on a pathway that is gonna like put us all in a low socioeconomic situation. So in order to combat crime, that's also correlated with being in a low socioeconomic situation, you go to the main root cause of the issue. So I think I'm like not in the center here, but yeah, you go to the main cause of the issue, which is usually childhood trauma. So I'm obviously like, I care deeply about these victims that are being hurt, but that's not the only thing driving me. Actually, it's a logical solution to these societal problems and a commonsensical approach to how to stop crime. So you just cut it where the root cause actually is, which is molestation. Yeah.
And so what is your priority right now? Do you think that there is a way that Australia will be able to come out of this ridiculous economic crisis that the government has essentially put us in?
Oh my goodness, like it's honestly, I don't even know how. It feels like I'm in a badly produced movie. Like what's going on?
It's weird. It's surreal.
It's surreal. It's unrealistic, actually. I think because I have faith in Australians that we will get past this, but it's going to take a lot of audacity to combat this. It's going to take people speaking up, especially where in states that are hit really bad by this, like Victoria. Yeah, it's going to take.
Don't get me started.
Well, people have to speak up. You know, they can't just. And in order for people to speak up and be convincing, they have to actually put the research in. They need to understand what actually is government's role. So that's step number one, understanding government's role. And when they're acting outside of that role, then, you know, you've got grounds to, I guess, defy that. Or civil disobedience, you know, you've got grounds to do that. But half the time people don't actually understand what government's role is.
Well, I made a video. I've been corrected in the video that I made recently, which was on the Australian Constitution. So there are few things that I need to fine tune. So I'm going to do not a retraction video, but a video where I explain things just the tiniest bit better. But I do know for a fact that Parliament was once upon a time subordinate to us. now we have become subordinate to them because we are operating under a second constitution. The original constitution, the Australian Constitution, 1901, we're not operating under that. We're operating on something that was diluted. We're not operating on the annotated original version, and so that gives them grounds to like do almost what they like, and that's a problem. That's treasonous.
Yeah,
yes, thank you. And you can help me with my next video research wise.
But that's absolutely right. I mean,
thank you. Yes.
And I will pick on Justice Kirby here. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of his the way he interprets the Constitution. He's very progressive. So I'm a proponent for originalism, that is reading the Constitution conservatively, which is what our forefathers would have wanted. There's statements about God in the provision, actually. So that Constitution was set up by a Christian body of people. So we've totally forgotten that. It is a conservative entity.
Document? Yes, entity, that's the right word. Yeah.
And so there's always just stepping into a very dangerous territory when you start interpreting law in a way that it wasn't set up and designed to be interpreted. The law basically starts dissipating and becomes meaningless when you interpret it the way you want to interpret it, or
the way people do the Bible. It's the same argument.
That's right. And you've got to actually interpret it the way that the document was set up to be interpreted, and actually outline how it's supposed to be interpreted. I mean, you look at something like S61 outlining the executive power, legislative power. So the Constitution will have provisions in there that will tell you how to interpret it. And when people kind of increase the ambit of what these provisions supposedly mean, then basically the law starts dissipating and turning into a meaningless doctrine, essentially.
Well, yes. And under the original Constitution, they talk about civil conscription. And for those who don't know what civil conscription means, it means what is civil conscription? It's the obligation of civilians to perform mandatory labor for the government. But in terms of the original Constitution, it says here, sorry, let me get it. The provision of maternity allowances, widows' pensions, child endowment, unemployment, pharmaceutical sickness, and hospital benefits, medical and dental services, but not so as to authorize any form of civil conscription.
Yes.
So they can't actually, under our original Constitution, they cannot they cannot be doing what they're doing. Like did you see about that girl that when the government went into her house and they arrested her for putting up a Facebook post in Victoria, in my home state?
I heard about that. Yeah, that's breaking news at the moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it's infuriating for me because they're entering someone's house because they don't have the freedom to post something on Facebook.
Really? Traditionally in law, you need a warrant. Like, you need a search warrant. You can't just break into people's houses. And now
under state emergency, it's perfectly okay.
That's right. And they're putting acts out, like emergency COVID acts, where they can take away your kids, essentially. I mean, there's provisions in there. It's truly horrific stuff, and that's not constitutional at all. The way I've interpreted the Constitution, not constitutional at all. And we can go into greater depth about why exactly it's not constitutional, like the principles at play that makes it not constitutional. But part of what you do when you interpret the Constitution is see whether what government is mandating is actually proportionate to the threat. So right now, it's so important to actually understand the threat of COVID, like how threatening actually is this virus. It's a pandemic, according to social media.
It's a pandemic, my friend. Pandemic.
The statistics don't warrant that title. It's not a pandemic, actually. There's like most people who are going to die from this thing are immunosuppressed or have hyperinflammatory syndrome or underlying conditions, but you don't hear government talking about comorbidity. So anyway,
No, not at all.
yeah, when it comes to mandating things, it's got to be justified. It's got to be proportionate to the threat. And when it's not, people should start asking questions.
Yes, sorry. Did I disappear off camera? What happened there?
No,
You stopped
just
talking. Oh, okay. Well, I did a brief video on it earlier today because I've been busy all day. I've been working. I'm not in my usual, as for those who do watch me, I'm not in my usual
background.
Yeah, I'm in some strange lady's house. Very nice lady, but I'm not where I normally am. Is my point. But yeah. So look, it sounds like there's a bit of someone wants to know where you're studying law. Are you allowed to name it, or would you rather not name it?
I'm not naming unis. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't actually care. Yeah. But the point is, you're studying law currently, yes, or a portion of it. Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's all we need to say. Yeah, and I studied it for 2 years because I wanted, just for the person asking, because I think people are curious to know, like, how we know what we're talking about. Yeah, I studied law. Well, I wouldn't say I'm confident. I wouldn't say that we're an authority on this, but I studied advanced legal diploma, so I wanted to be a paralegal. So I studied constitutional law, and that was quite a number of years ago. But yeah, I have. No, I didn't mention that to you. I do have a grasp on law as well, but I just don't advertise that. This is the first time I'm telling anyone that I've done that. But yeah, okay. So I too studied it, but just only for 2 years, and then I dropped out. But anyway, okay. So let's get into the topic that fuels you and has been fueling me as of late, and that is child sex abuse. Now, there's so many laws at the moment that are being passed, or not so many laws, I shouldn't say it like that, but it seems lately that the child sex abuse topic has become a hot topic. Usually it's a topic that people are afraid to touch. Yeah, like very often people are like, oh, fame horse. No one likes to talk about child sex abuse. Yeah, no, we're talking, you and I, obviously we want to build our profiles to talk about something that no one wants to talk about. This is not a fun, happy subject. This is a topic that makes people uneasy. And that's why I want to talk about it, because I want people to be aware of what's going on. Anyway, so we've got a couple of links here. I think the one that has me the most interested is this one here, which I will share now on screen briefly. So let's go here. I'm just going to go to share screen. This one, I think it is. Give me a second. Nope, that's not the one that I want. This one here. Can you see that, everyone? All right, so can you see that or not? What?
It's a bit, I can't see any of the writing.
You can't see it? Okay. Can everyone watching see? You can't see any of the writing on camera, on screen?
No, it's too small.
Oh. Okay, well, I'll just show everyone. Let us speak, hashtag let us speak. Victoria's sexual assault gag law could see rape victims jailed. So sexual assault survivors could be fined thousands and even jailed under a new gag law in Victoria, of course, and it's thumping victory for rapists. So I'm just going to get out of that now. Stop sharing. Okay, so for those who managed to see that, basically the whole point is that if you are a victim of, I can't use the word are, but if you are a victim of a brutal violation, let's use that word, you're not allowed to write a book about it. You're not allowed to discuss it with your friend at a park bench if a cop is walking past. That essentially that gag law gives power to the violator, to the perpetrator. What are your thoughts on that? And tell me how it affects the system of law as you understand it from your current studies, because my head's going to go back too far to remember any of that.
That's a really good question, and I can't say I've actually thought deeply about that until, like, because I'm literally
10 minutes ago.
But yeah, of course it's so important for victims to be able to feel comfortable and confident when they're speaking out about this topic. I mean, part of the abuse is actually manipulating the victims insofar that they are unable to actually speak out publicly about this sort of thing. That's actually part of the abuse. So whenever you make legislation that I suppose makes that victim feel even more uncomfortable about speaking out, That's really, I don't know. I actually don't know how stuff like this gets passed to begin with. Like, I honestly can't explain that sort of thing. But it's so important to uphold the victims.
You really, are you sure about that? It is right, but you're saying that you don't know how? Our government is full of dubious.
Yeah, I say that. I mean, of course I know that.
You do technically know.
Of course,
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next article. Let me just get it ready. All right, so let's go to, it wasn't an article, it was a legislation. And you've sent me the link, which is here. Share, and we go here. So, so this is the legislation. It's Crimes Legislation Amendment, Sexual Crimes Against Children and Community Protection Measures Act 2020. So, what did you want to discuss specifically about this legislation, which is still obviously in the finishing stages?
Yeah, just I suppose I actually made a video about this. It was a couple months ago, so a bit hazy now. But
yeah,
from what I remembered, Labor and Greens actually thwarted amendments to try and get mandatory minimum sentencing, and that is a huge problem because obviously mandatory minimum sentencing makes it a lot easier to convict these pedophiles and keep them away from society. I wouldn't say pedophiles, I should say child molesters, because not all pedophiles are child molesters. But
exactly. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically thwarting that, I don't understand why people would want to thwart that type of amendment, because you've just made it easier, I guess, to get away with child molestation. Basically, pedophiles, child molesters have high recidivism rates. So once convicted, I mean, there's a good chance if this person gets out of jail or whatever, that they'll reoffend. I mean, that's just statistics. Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of need
true. That happens.
Yeah, we need mandatory minimum sentencing, and you should definitely ask questions when people start thwarting that sort of legislation, because that would have been a win for victims. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's completely true. That completely makes sense. And do you think there's a problem? Like, what do you think would be a better, like, we're Christian as well, and being Christian means that we must be as compassionate as we possibly can, even to people that we don't want to. You've got to love your enemy. And that's very, very difficult to do when you're talking about people who are kiddie fiddlers, people who do touch children, people who do act and violate other human beings, whether male, whether female. What would you say is rehabilitation ever going to work? Because my personal response to that is that without Christ, they will reoffend. And that makes me sound like I believe in magic and I believe in the transcendental powers of Christ. I do. I don't think that with just the secular psychobabble that we use today, that these rehabilitated people can't not be tempted. Like, you know, you have people even now trying to promote the virtuous pedophile. There's no such thing as a virtuous pedophile. So what are your thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with John Ulla about this, actually, and I'm happy to link a video about that as well. But we actually discussed this issue. Can they be rehabilitated? Well, here's the thing. Like I said before, a lot of them have high recidivism rate. And, well, here's the thing. If they're a psychopath and they were born that way, so without a functioning autonomic nervous system, well, it's very hard to rehabilitate someone like that, because we're talking about a physiological impairment, actually. So, and I mean, there's many things you can say about that. I mean, the brain develops through epigenetic factors, through social conditioning and whatnot. So, I mean, there's all these factors to consider about how the brain develops. But when you think about psychopaths that were born with issues with their actual cognitive function, I mean, you can't rehabilitate people like that. You know, it's very. No,
that's my point. I think they can be with Christ. Without him, they will always be offenders. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even then, with Christ, they should still be monitored, because, like,
Well, some people are given
secular
over.
society wouldn't. Sorry.
Yeah, some people are given over to demonic influence, and the Bible says
Yes, they are
given over. So, I don't know if everybody can be saved. I mean, I'm not a theologian, so maybe ask a theologian about this. But the way I it with John is that some people are demonically possessed and they are given over to the dark side, and they can't be rehabilitated from that. So it's very hard, I think, for conservatives or Christians to grasp that, because a lot of conservatives are very highly empathic, nice people, but we can be very.
But some are a-holes as well. Some Christians are a-holes. Sorry.
Okay, I should say, yeah. Ideally, theoretically,
yes, ideally.
People, but most Christians are that way, so it's very hard for them to be cognizant of the fact that some people aren't able to be saved like that. Yeah.
Well,
be rehabilitated.
Rehabilitated. This is something interesting because I live with an atheist, and I help him. Oh yeah, you're going to be on his show in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh, cool.
Remember the one I was telling you about? Yeah, you're going to be on his show soon. But I made a mention some time ago about how sad I was. Do you remember Naya Rivera, the singer from Glee?
Yes, yeah, and she died recently.
She drowned, unfortunately, yeah. And so one of her cast members and ex-boyfriend was a guy named Mark Salling, and he played a Noah Puckerman or something like that on the show.
Yeah,
and
he caught for pedophilia.
He was caught with child pornography, exactly right. And what concerns me about that is obviously that's concerning in general, but I made a statement, something to the effect of, oh my gosh, how sad that he committed suicide. Because in my head, I thought, not that I feel for the P. I don't know if we can use the word pedophile or not. I don't know. Yeah, YouTube's funny. Yeah, sorry, but not that I believe they should all be castrated. I think that what they do is evil. But there was something that happened. I had a stirring in my heart, and I felt, oh no, all he needed was Christ. That was my heart. That was my feeling, and I thought, if he just. Like it starts off as what a weird predilection to seeing inappropriate photos, evil photos, forbidden photos, and then it builds and it builds and it builds, and then after that, once you're caught, it's a shame thing, and then you're ashamed, and then what, you kill yourself because you feel like your livelihood depends on it. Whether you are a P or not, that's sad. It's sad that they chose to kill themselves, and I feel like there should be some sort of spiritual rehabilitation that takes place rather than suicide, because then that's just one extra for the devil. It's like, haha, God, look what I took one away from you. There has to be a program that works, and I know it never will. I know that unless you have Christ. I already know that. But that just leads me to there's a reason I mentioned that wasn't to talk about, like, hang on, give me a second. It was, I have the details here. I thought I did. It was about, I can't find it. But anyway, it's okay. But the point is that that these people, oh no, here it is. I found it. Okay. So it's a good article, actually. It's here it is. Let me click this article and actually share it. I didn't think I'd be talking about this particular article, but I think you might find it interesting as well, because it's relevant to exactly what is happening right now in here it is. Okay, cool. So I'm going to share the screen again. Child exploitation. Is this the one? Share. All right. So this is ABC News. So this is the government website that is saying that child exploitation websites crashing during coronavirus amid sharp rise in reported abuse. I found this super interesting, and I was actually very proud of ABC for actually putting something that seems taboo up on their website. Let me go to the bit that I thought was relevant. Here we go. The AFP data showed that in the early to mid-2000s, offenders caught with child exploitation material had about 1,000 images, but those arrested today have up to 80,000 child abuse images and videos. What are your thoughts on that? I'll stop sharing now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
I can't even conceive of that, you know?
Neither. I can't at all.
You know, it actually makes sense because I think with the age of the internet, people are getting, like, criminal syndicates are getting way more organized, you know? And when they're more organized, they tend to share images with each other and actually help other pedophiles and whatnot.
Imagine helping someone in your own sickness.
Yeah, they just collect and collect and collect because it's actually lucrative to sell images and whatnot. So, I mean, that makes sense. They'd just make money off of that. But, oh my goodness, 80,000. That is, like, you can't even, how's
1,000 to 80. That's vast.
Yeah, yeah. And it's going to get worse. I mean, even with the let's just bring the 5G technology into the equation. Why not?
Why not? Let's add this horrible mix.
Because you got faster internet all of a sudden. I mean, the whole thing about child trafficking proliferating is because of the internet. People are procuring kids online. And, you know, it's just facilitated criminal activity. So fast internet is going to see a rise, and in the middle of a recession. So we're going to see even
we are in a recession,
because of that. So things are going to get much, much worse. If we think it's bad now, I mean, I think it was Peter Dutton. Something with Peter Dutton on the news. Some reporter said that there was thing like
no accuracy there at all. Something with Peter Dutton.
I'm nervous. I'm live. Okay.
Sorry, that's just funny to me.
Okay, so there's like an extra 1,000 reports of children, you know, submitting reports to police agencies per month. And people, because of the mandates, they're locked inside their domestic environments with people they otherwise wouldn't be sharing houses with and stuff like this. So that all feeds in. It all feeds into the increase of this problem, and we're not going to see it stop. Basically, we're set on a skyrocketing trend.
It's ridiculous. Do you reckon that's part of the bigger agenda, to see how many people can commit suicide because they want population control? I know that sounds very conspiratorial, but that could be part of the agenda. I know you're smiling because people think we're insane. Yeah.
I haven't ruled out anything at this point. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's vodka in her cup, just so you guys all know.
Yeah.
You didn't hear what I said. I said that's vodka in her cup, just in case you all want to know. But it's obviously a lie. All right, so let's talk about. I'm echoing.
I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. It's all about feelings. It's not all about feelings. We're actually talking about specific topics and legislation and stuff. But anyway, what was I going to say? I was going to ask you, your piece that you wrote. Yeah, let's. Apparently, the things I'm sharing can't be seen at all. Apparently, that's what they're saying.
No, okay.
But okay, so we'll go here. Sorry, guys, if you can't see it, but I'm going to try and put it up on the screen. So this is your article that you wrote. And okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the government mandates. Let me just go back and see if you guys can. Hang on. Still. Yeah, I can see why you're not seeing. Oh, I don't know why you can't see it though.
Yeah, it's blank green.
It's all black, right?
Black, yeah.
I don't know why. Hang on. That's weird. That's a huge cup that someone just wrote. Why can't people see it? How annoying. What's the point of this feature if it's not going to work? Maybe it's because I don't know. Stop sharing and I'll reshare. See what happens. Otherwise, I'll just read it out loud. Share screen. Can people see this? Okay, you can see all that, right?
Yeah, it's coming up with really small, weird.
Yeah, but that you can visually see though.
I can't see my article.
No, your article's not there. We are there. Can you see us?
Okay, yeah, I can see us. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now if I change the screen to a different one, you should still be able to see. Can you see your article or not?
No.
Do you know why? I think it's because hang on, I know what I'm going to do. Control X. It's because it doesn't like Chrome. I'm thinking that's why. So I'm going to, I'm guessing. I don't really know. All right, let's now go here. Control.
Can you just link from the article? Can they just bring it up?
I'm trying. Can you see it now?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right. So I have to use. There's you, beautiful you. All right. Let's go down and find. Oh, actually, I know what I did. I went here. What was it?
Stenhouse v. Coleman.
Thank you. Yeah, Sten. Okay, here it is. All right. This is the bit that I like. This is my favorite bit. All right. So we're going to talk about the government mandates now. So you actually have researched quite diligently, because you sort of offer a reason that the government is in fact able to go into people's homes. And so I did a little bit of research on this because I thought I was going to go live with Serene, but she had to bail, which is completely fair. But over here, I'm going to read from, where should I read from? Let's start from okay. The obscurity of the provision, I'm going to read the whole paragraph. During the 20th century, cases regarding the definition of Section 92 emerged in the High Court of Australia in approximately 140 cases before the High Court's decision in Cole versus Whitfield. The court was challenged with finding a suitable theory regarding the operation of this provision. All right, so then we're going to move to...
are you talking about the defense bit?
I'm talking about this law bit. On the other hand, the Constitution does provide Parliament with the powers needed to effect quarantine and act with broad-reaching powers during times of escalated tension, arguably through the defense head of power provision. This is demonstrated by Justice Dixon in Stenhouse versus Coleman. Okay, and so then what I did with my questions that I researched was that I wrote down here, where is the Stenhouse versus... Okay, so here. The cases cited above deal with regulations made at a time when sufficient emergency existed to call forth the power. Now the whole edifice of legislation passed during hostilities does not collapse at once simply because the necessities which call it into being have passed. Per Dixon J. in Dawson's case supra at P184. The defense power includes a power to wind up after a war and to restore conditions of peace gradually if that is thought wise. So the context I think that that adds is that it existed, the cases cited above deal with regulations made, so it was at a time when sufficient emergency existed to call forth the power. So that's the missing line of context, I think, that explains why maybe they shouldn't still do it now. That it was, yeah. Did you want to add to that, build on that?
Yeah, I mean, because at the beginning of this pandemic, we didn't actually know what this threat was. So some people thought it was biowarfare, you know, other people thought it was an organic warfare. But well, yeah, I would agree with that definition. Yeah, anyway, that's a great from that section. Yeah. So when you're going to use the defense head of power, you need to define the threat. So is it a state of emergency? Is it
that's warfare? The claim.
We didn't know at the beginning. So it kind of makes
sense. That's true.
My government would be would overstep during that time and be extra cautious, because I mean, obviously you'd be extra cautious before you kind of ascertain the threat. Once they did that though, because we kind of already have ascertained the threat, there's been plenty of scientific literature coming out about how virulent this thing actually is, indicating that it's not actually as bad as people first thought it was. So now that we have that research, how can we then say it warrants these types of mandates that would only be justified during times of warfare, or when they're implementing something under the defense head of power? I mean, it makes no sense because the threat has been ascertained. So, yeah, I think, and I say this in the article, at the beginning, yeah, it was maybe justified, but now...
No, but you really did illustrate both perspectives. It was actually really, really well written.
Thanks. I try to be impartial, but yeah, my
Well, I
bias.
mean, we can only be as impartial. We can always demonstrate our own bias. I think that's okay. But as long as you attempt to show their perspective,
Yeah.
I think that's completely okay. So keep
Before
going.
you wreck their perspective, you need to show
Yeah.
them. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, does that answer your question about the defense bit? Better power and white is applicable.
Yeah. I just wanted to state that yes, you sort of gave a loophole to the government as to why they're doing what they're doing, but I mean it was called for contextually previously for that specific time, and it doesn't necessarily mean it is required again. And right now, you and I know, and even the average Joe who isn't politically aware the way we are, that it is completely a farce. I just don't know how else to put it. The government is exaggerating this by epic proportions, and everyone is aware of it at some level. Some people still think that the government is doing it for a good reason, and those are the people we need to crack.
Yeah, and I think it's really, I blame social media censorship. Like I blame Mark.
I like that.
If people had access to the real situation, like the real scientific literature and stuff that's not been censored or shoved under the surface due to their algorithms, well then people would know the reality of the situation. But they don't know the reality because it's being stunted, it's being restricted. So, I mean, that kind of falls into another constitutional principle about political communication. In order to exercise your rights under S7 and S24, representative government, to have a government representing you, you need to be well informed. And
yes, absolutely.
I mean, to be well informed, you need access to the information. So if they go and stunt it from you, well, that's not really upholding representative government, actually, because they're lying about the situation.
Oh, easily. No, you're so right. Well, it's like, like in court or in movies, even in Lie, they're leading the witness, and it's like you're leading the witness. You're sort of informing them of what to think, and that's not allowed. You have to you object or sustain. Yeah, and that's the issue. And even most Australians don't know what's in their own constitution, the original it's really bad. It's really bad. It's like what I was telling you before in section 51. It says in section 51 of the Constitution, you are the civil conscription is not allowed. Like the government is not supposed. We're not subordinate to the government. They're supposed to be subordinate to us. Civil conscription is not allowed. Section 51 covers that, but no one knows this. It's like, please, guys, stop reading.
It's like people think, government's going to play like daddy or something. I mean, they go and confer all this power onto the government because I think that's government's role. Traditionally, that's not government's role. I mean, it's
limited government.
Exactly, and that's what the Constitution does. It limits the ambit of their power. It defines their limits.
Their responsibilities.
What those limits actually are in the first place. They're not going to understand that what the government's doing right now in Victoria is like pretty much tyrannical. I mean, curfews. That's crazy.
I know, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. I feel so bad for my friends and my family. Like, it's just bad. Yeah, it is. Someone's written here, and yes, they're correct that I made a video on this. Change the voting ability. I think you made the points, dear, to raise the voting age. I did, and pass a test. So, yeah, this is something that I made a video on quite a while ago. The video actually didn't do particularly well, so I'm surprised it went. But, yeah, I did. I said you shouldn't be able to vote if you're a woman was the first thing I said, but I was joking. But what I meant was I still kind of mean that. I think you should only vote if you're, like, I think a household should be able to vote. Okay. Rather than, it's just a thought, a household should be able to vote. Or if you own land or own a business, if you're over 25, if you've worked in the military, or if your family has been here for maybe more than just one generation, which means I can't vote. Like I'm excluding myself from that as a first generation Australian. I think that there should be as few people should be able to vote as possible, and there should be people who pass an examination, and the examination should represent their knowledge on Australia, on how the voting system even works. So many people vote because Australia forces them to. You get a fine if you don't vote. Do you know what I mean?
Like or something.
Yeah.
Not much, but
Yeah. It's just a thought.
Like we don't want, because I feel like here's my 2 cents on the issue. I feel like
No, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're a woman. Stop. That's okay.
I feel like you shouldn't force people to vote, because if you force them to vote, then they just donkey vote.
They donkey vote. I used to donkey vote before I cared about politics.
The actual process, because they don't know what the heck they're doing. So actually, just make it voluntary to vote, so that the people who are informed and will make those good decisions will be the ones voting, not so much the people who have no idea, like who the premier is, you know?
I know. Do you think, this is not something I expected to ask you, do you think maybe an anarcho-capitalist society might be better than a democratic capitalist society?
You're going to have to explain the differences between those. I'm not very well versed in.
Do you know what anarchy is? Where you basically function on your own. No government. Yeah. So there's 2 types of anarchism. By the way, everyone is fascinated by that mug of yours. Everyone's like, oh,
I drink so much, I need to stay hydrated.
I should start drinking more water. I haven't been telling a lot of people this, but I'm dizzy, like, all the time.
That's so not good. In winter, you have to drink more because your body gets dehydrated.
Well, I got a blood test recently, and I found out that I'm iron deficient, and that's why I'm dizzy.
Yeah,
I know I'm iron deficient, so that's why I'm dizzy. But anyway, it's getting better. I'm fine. I don't know why I said that on camera. I usually don't talk about my medical ailments on camera, but I just decided to. But anyway, what was I saying before that? Okay. So anarchism. There's two types. There's the leftist type of anarchism, which I think would be. There's a word for it. I'm just forgetting. There's a word that goes before it or after it, and forgive me. But then there's anarcho-capitalism, which one would put, if you go by the measure of left and right and all that kind of crap, the anarchism that I'm referring to would be more noble. It'd be run by benevolent people, by good portion of society. Yeah, so that'd be a good version of it. I used to eat more steaks. Yeah, I will. Thanks. I used to consider myself a statist. But I don't think I'm much of a statist anymore. I think maybe, not that I'm fully an anarchist, but I do think we should have limited government because, you agree?
I mean, I think we have to be ruled. I mean, I think that's biblical.
The Bible shows us that the Jews needed a king.
Yeah, I mean, we were designed to be ruled. I mean, you look at nature, you look at the animal kingdom, queen bees.
I agree.
Lion. I mean, all these animals have social hierarchies. We're no different. We have a social hierarchy.
But we're not animals. But yes, exactly.
We're not animals. Yes, that's correct.
Only atheists think we're animals.
We have to function because we're complicated. We're a complex species.
We have cognitive thinking,
coordination,
and sentience.
Yeah.
Coordination? No, I have no coordination. But yes.
So we'll some of us. So kind of like, we do need a leader. You know, we need leadership. I'm a fan, actually, of true politics, of true government. But I agree, like, it totally has to be shrunk right down. I think there's an issue when it encroaches on too many things and encroaches on civil life and starts dictating.
Yeah. Like, why do I have to pay the government for my car? Sorry?
It should be like defense and law enforcement, and that's literally all they should tax us for.
We're talking over each other. I apologize. You have to come back on my show when I have another female committee. I was so mad at you.
Sorry.
But I am enjoying this one. Sorry?
I was studying.
I know. You're such a nerd. I know. You're a good girl. But do you know who would be amazing to run the world? Aside from Jesus Christ, obviously. Aslan.
Yeah, definitely Aslan, yeah. That was a Narnia series. I mean, go to my profile. It says I'm from Narnia, Maryland. I love Narnia.
I love Narnia. Yes, it's such a good...
Or maybe even Prince Caspian, do you reckon would be good?
He'd be okay. I mean, he's
Not as good
yeah.
as Aslan, really. But
Not as good as Aslan, no, but he's a good runner-up. No, dear, the Jews wanted a king. God gave them Saul reluctantly. Oh, I thought God wanted them to be ruled. Okay, maybe you're right. I probably have it wrong. Fair enough, and thank you for the correction. Is that right?
I don't know.
She is kind of a Christian to you. That's funny. All right, it's 45 minutes. Did you want to end it? Because I know you did
already. Yeah, we can finish off here. This went fast.
It does go. I told you it goes fast. That's why I usually go for an hour or more.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. My favorite living. Yes. By the way, Jim Bowden. I interviewed his friend, Alexander Dugan, on my channel not too long ago, and I'm trying to get Alain de Benoit on my channel. Yeah. But anyway, guys, please stay tuned for more videos on my YouTube channel. This Saturday, I will be attending the march, so hopefully I can vlog that and that will be released on my channel. I will have Septimus back on my channel for more of my child sex abuse series, as well as just being part of the female panel. And coming up next after this live is this guy here, Port. He's going live with Jovi. So make sure you guys tune into them on Jovi's channel. Do you want to? Oh, also, Septimus's blog is in the description box below. I didn't put her YouTube channel, but I will once I get home. I need to drive 4 more hours to get to where I normally am, so that's why. No, I was actually quite pleased when you said you wanted it to be a short live, because it means that I have time to get home and
okay.
Yeah, and you can study. So
thanks, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, so because it's 9:15 now, so it'll be 10, 11, 12. We'll probably be about 1 o'clock by the time I get to the house.
Wow, okay.
So, it's been a busy day. It's been a very productive day for me. What was that?
Don't fall asleep on the road.
No, I won't be driving, but if he falls asleep, we can swap. And thankfully, I know how to drive a manual. I'm not one of those girls that can only drive an auto. That's me. All right. Well, thank you so much, Septimus. I really appreciate it. Whose channel is Port on? Jovi. Oh, I'll write it down. Hang on. Give me a second. Jovi Val. There. That's what you write down on YouTube. Yeah, the urn is right. Yeah, okay. The Israelites were ruled. Okay, well, either way, I still think, oh, wow. Is this really her?
Daisy, oh my God, I'm a fan of you, Daisy.
If it's really her, then yes. Fabulous show tonight. She's fantastic. She's one of my favorites. It's so funny. We were talking about her last night. Hey, you wanted me to connect you with her. If this is really her, then yeah, I'll connect you guys. Do you have Twitter? Because we can probably do like a group chat. Oh, that's right. She has Facebook. I'll connect you to her. She's fantastic, and she'll love what you're about. Yeah, so we've done well. All right, I better let you go so that you can study and I can get home.
No worries. Thanks, dear.
Love you guys. Bye. End broadcast. There we go.